Have you ever started your morning with a routine that you thought was healthy, only to feel your knees ache, your hips stiffen, or your fingers tighten up just hours later? For millions of people over 60, this isn't just bad luck or getting older. It's the silent damage caused by one very common morning habit that almost everyone believes is good for them. In fact, this habit is so widespread that doctors say nearly 70% of older adults do it daily without realizing how much strain it's putting on their joints. And here's the scary part. The longer you keep doing it, the faster your cartilage wears down, your inflammation builds up, and your risk of serious arthritis skyrockets. But here's the good news. If you stop this one healthy morning habit and replace it with joint-friendly alternatives, you could feel relief in as little as 2 weeks. Today, we're going to reveal what this hidden joint destroyer is, explain why seniors are far more vulnerable to it, and count down the best natural fixes, with number 1 being a food that most people have never even thought about, but which researchers say could actually rebuild your cartilage from the inside out. Now let's talk about why joints over 60 are so fragile in the first place. As you age, the protective cartilage that cushions your knees, hips, and fingers begins to thin. Studies show that by age 65, most people have lost at least 30% of their cartilage thickness. Combine that with a natural decline in collagen production, the protein that keeps your joints flexible, and you've got a recipe for stiffness, cracking sounds, and bone-on-bone grinding. To make matters worse, the body's natural anti-inflammatory defenses weaken with age. This means that foods or habits that might not have bothered you in your 40s now trigger painful swelling, stiffness, and even flare-ups of arthritis. And here's the kicker. Many of the so-called healthy foods and habits people rely on in the morning actually pour fuel on the fire. They trigger inflammation, spike blood sugar, and break down the delicate tissues that protect your joints. That's why so many seniors feel worse in the mornings. Their very first meal or drink is setting off a chain reaction that lasts all day long. So what is this habit? For most people over 60, it starts with breakfast. You wake up, you want energy, and you reach for something light and healthy, maybe a glass of orange juice, a quick bowl of cereal, or a slice of whole wheat toast. But here's the shocking truth. These foods, marketed for decades as healthy, are among the worst triggers for joint pain. They flood your bloodstream with sugar, trigger inflammation in your connective tissues, and accelerate cartilage breakdown. A 2021 study in the journal Arthritis Research and Therapy found that seniors with high blood sugar levels had nearly double the rate of cartilage loss in their knees compared to those with stable levels. And here's the cruel irony. The more you rely on these foods to give you morning energy, the more drained and achy you feel as the day goes on. It's a vicious cycle, but if you know what to cut and what to replace it with, you can break that cycle and finally give your joints the relief they're begging for. So let's count down the worst morning habits and foods that destroy your joints, and then we'll reveal the number 1 replacement that could actually help rebuild your cartilage and restore mobility. And trust me, you'll want to stick around until the very end, because number 1 is something most seniors have never even tried. But it may be the single most powerful food you could add to your mornings. Coming in at number 4 is fruit juice. Yes, even 100% orange juice. For decades, juice has been pushed as the perfect way to start your morning. But what most people don't realize is that juice is essentially liquid sugar stripped of all its fiber. A single glass of orange juice contains as much sugar as 4 or 5 oranges. And when you drink it without the fiber of the whole fruit, that sugar slams into your bloodstream within minutes. Why does this matter for your joints? Because high blood sugar directly feeds inflammation. In fact, researchers at Harvard found that seniors who consumed fruit juice daily had significantly higher levels of inflammatory markers in their blood, the very same chemicals that break down cartilage and trigger arthritis flare-ups. If you've ever noticed your knees or hands feeling tighter on days when you had juice for breakfast, now you know why. The fix? Swap juice for the whole fruit. Eating an orange or a handful of berries gives you the vitamins and antioxidants, without the blood sugar spike, plus fiber that actually fights inflammation. Next, at number 3, we have cereal, especially the so-called heart-healthy or low-fat brands marketed to older adults. These cereals are often loaded with refined grains and hidden sugars that digest almost instantly, spiking your glucose levels and setting off inflammation. Even cereals labeled as multi-grain or whole wheat often contain just a dusting of real whole grains mixed into a base of refined flour. The result? Your joints pay the price. A 2020 study in the Journal of Nutrition showed that seniors who ate refined grains daily had higher levels of C-reactive protein, a key marker of joint inflammation. And here's the part most people miss. These cereals often come with milk, which can trigger inflammation for many older adults. As we age, we produce less of the enzyme lactase, which means even a splash of milk can cause bloating, gas, and systemic inflammation that worsens joint stiffness. Instead, try steel-cut oats or overnight chia seed pudding. These options digest, slowly, keep blood sugar stable, and deliver joint-healing nutrients like magnesium and omega-3s. Coming in at number 2 is toast, especially white or even standard whole wheat bread. The problem here isn't just the carbs, it's the type of carbs. Refined flour digests almost instantly, turning into glucose that spikes your blood sugar and feeds inflammation. But bread also contains compounds called advanced glycation end products, or AGEs. These are formed when bread is baked at high temperatures, and studies show AGEs accumulate in joint tissue, making cartilage stiffer and more brittle. A 2019 study in the journal Clinical Rheumatology found that seniors with higher age levels in their blood had more severe arthritis symptoms and faster progression of joint damage. That means your morning toast may be quietly aging your joints from the inside out. A smarter swap? Sprouted grain bread. The sprouting process reduces AGEs, increases nutrient availability, and provides more fiber to keep your blood sugar steady. Toast it lightly, top it with avocado or almond butter, and you've got a joint-friendly breakfast that fuels your morning instead of destroying it. And now, the number 1 worst morning habit for your joints, and this one shocks almost everyone, is starting your day with coffee on an empty stomach. Yes, coffee. While coffee itself contains antioxidants that can be beneficial, when you drink it first thing in the morning without food, it sends your stress hormone cortisol soaring. Cortisol is your body's fight or flight hormone, and while it's useful in short bursts, chronically elevated cortisol eats away at collagen, weakens your bones, and triggers inflammation in your joints. For seniors, this effect is amplified because your body's cortisol regulation naturally weakens with age. A 2022 study published in Frontiers in Endocrinology found that older adults with high morning cortisol levels had significantly more joint pain and reduced cartilage thickness. And here's the catch. Most people add creamers, sugar, or flavored syrups to their coffee, which compounds the damage by spiking blood sugar and pouring gasoline on the fire of inflammation. That means your morning cup, the very ritual you rely on for energy, may be one of the biggest reasons your knees ache and your back feels stiff. The solution? Never drink coffee on an empty stomach. Have a small protein-rich bite first, like a boiled egg, a handful of nuts, or even just a spoonful of Greek yogurt. This buffers your cortisol response, protects your joints, and keeps your energy steady. Even better, replace 1 cup of coffee with green tea. Green tea contains EGCG, a compound proven in studies to reduce joint inflammation and slow cartilage breakdown. So we've seen the worst morning offenders: juice, cereal, toast, and coffee on an empty stomach. But what should you be doing? Instead, this brings us to the miracle replacement that most seniors have never even tried: millet. Millet is an ancient grain that's been a staple in parts of Africa and Asia for centuries, but in the West it's been almost forgotten. And that's a shame, because modern research shows millet may be one of the best foods on the planet for joint health. A 2021 clinical study published in Frontiers in Nutrition followed nearly 1,000 people with type 2 diabetes who replaced their morning grains with millet. Not only did their blood sugar drop by an average of 15%, but markers of inflammation also decreased, and many participants reported less joint pain within just 12 weeks. Millet is rich in magnesium, a mineral that helps regulate muscle and nerve function, and it contains unique anti-inflammatory fibers that soothe joint tissues. Even better, millet has compounds that actually support collagen production, meaning it could help rebuild the cushion in your knees and hips. One woman, Evelyn, age 72, reported in the study that after 3 weeks of switching her breakfast to millet porridge, she was able to climb stairs without stopping halfway for the first time in years. Cooking millet is simple. Just rinse it, simmer it in water until fluffy, and enjoy it as a porridge with cinnamon and berries or savory style with spinach and a poached egg. It's comforting, filling, and most importantly, it doesn't inflame your joints. Here's what this all means for you. If you're over 60, your joints are already more vulnerable. The cartilage is thinner, the collagen is weaker, and your body is less able to fight off inflammation. That means the choices you make at breakfast, the very first thing you put into your body each day, can either set you up for a day of pain and stiffness or a day of mobility and energy. By cutting out the worst offenders, juice, cereal, toast, and coffee on an empty stomach, and replacing them with joint-friendly options like whole fruit, steel-cut oats, sprouted grain bread, green tea, and especially millet, you give your joints the tools they need to heal. Remember, your body is always working to protect you, even after decades of wear and tear. If you give it the right foods, the right habits, it can still repair itself, and you can feel the difference in just weeks. So let me ask you, which one of these swaps will you try first? Drop your answer in the comments below. And if you want more simple, science-backed tips to keep your joints strong and your mornings pain-free, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Your next decade can feel better than the last if you start each morning the right way.